Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. With the release of Vanguard coming very soon, we're going to have another integration of content into Warzone, and I wanted to take a moment here to reflect on Cold War's integration. But before we get into all of that, I just want to highlight that I'm occasionally using a fun little loadout. It's a double AK-47 class in this gameplay with the Cold War AK and the Modern Warfare version. I might do a larger video on this in the future, but if you're looking to switch things up, the setup is a ton of fun and it's not too terrible. I'll throw it up on the screen. If you end up enjoying this video, feel free to drop a like, and if you don't enjoy it, leave a dislike so I know I need to change something. Lastly, get subscribed and follow me on Twitter to keep up to date with everything I'm doing. With that said, let's discuss the Cold War integration into Warzone. So, as everyone knows, the negatives about the integration are pretty well, known at this point. There were tons of issues bringing over content from the Cold War engine into the Warzone engine. If you're unfamiliar, Cold War uses a different engine for its game than Warzone and Modern Warfare. This was mainly due to the development of Cold War being rushed. It was supposed to come out in 2021. There were issues developing the 2020 COD, so they ended up switching. So Vanguard was actually supposed to be 2020. But anyway, those are pretty well documented kind of issues. There were tons of bugs, attachments had improper stats, all that kind of thing. And those were pretty bad things that I think need to be learned from and hopefully don't happen with the Vanguard integration. I don't think they will, since Vanguard is using the same engine, so I expect a much smoother transition, but hopefully they don't have as many hiccups. And obviously, as time went on, the Cold War guns ended up being a little bit overtuned. You have guns like the Krig, the QBZ right now, the Stoner, the OTS-9. Those are all very, very powerful guns. The MAC-10 has been great since it's been in the game. DMR, the FFAR, obviously things like that. And that's obviously also a negative that I hope they don't repeat, and they're maybe a little bit more proactive about balance. But I do want to really talk about the biggest highlight about Cold War's integration, and one of the things that I wish Infinity Ward prior to Raven and now Raven would do a bit more with Warzone, and that's separating the balance between multiplayer and Warzone. One of the big problems I have with the Modern Warfare guns is that they were designed with their multiplayer in mind. So much of the way that they behave, the way that the attachments affect the guns, is designed in the 6v6 style of play. And that doesn't always translate well into the larger scale of Warzone. I think one of the best decisions that was made about the Cold War set of guns is they completely separated its balance statistics and its attachment behaviors from the multiplayer side of things. So you can, look at the stats on a website like True Game Data, or, even just the in-game stats, and look at the pros and cons of each attachment, and you'll see that they're completely different from their Cold War multiplayer counterparts. And I think this is the best possible decision, and I hope they continue that with Vanguard. 6v6 is a completely different game, and they don't need to be one-to-one. As long as they retain the sort of identity of the gun, which, end of the day, I think they've done a pretty good job with, in regarding the Cold War guns, the SMGs, assault rifles, etc. I think they do need to make sure the attachments behave differently to benefit the gameplay of Warzone. When that comes to Modern Warfare guns, I would love to see them overhaul the mobility characteristics of the attachments. If you remember, when it came to the Cold War set of guns, there was a whole overhaul between the way that recoil was handled and range and bullet velocity was handled. And that did a lot to make Cold War weapons compete, and even at this point exceed the Modern Warfare weapons at longer range engagements. And I think that is needed for the Modern Warfare guns. Right now, if you really deck out a Modern Warfare assault rifle for long range, it just feels like you're walking through waist-high mud. And I hope that they at some point here do a whole large overhaul of mobility characteristics of the Modern Warfare weapons, and hopefully they speed things up. I like the faster movement speed of Cold War weapons. I think that is kind of a soft way to increase the time to kill, which is the direction that Raven's been going with the game. If you want a longer time to kill, obviously you can reduce damage, increase recoil on the guns themselves, but one thing you can do is just make the characters run faster, and the characters become more difficult to hit. Since they're moving around the map a lot faster, it's a lot harder to track them. And also it's just a little more fun to move faster. Now that I've been playing with Cold War guns for so long, it's really tough to go back to Modern Warfare versions and have that slower move speed. It just feels a little boring. So yeah, hopefully Vanguard has that same style of speed. So yeah, that's probably the biggest highlight for me when it comes to the Cold War integration, and I'd like to see that really carried over with Vanguard when they bring that over to Warzone. And I'd also like to see the statistics from Cold War brought in. If you're not aware, there was a rumor that the weaponsmith in Vanguard has the very detailed statistics that we see in Cold War multiplayer, with actual numeric values around percentage, range increases, velocity increases, and all of that, and the numeric values of bullet velocities and damage. I would love to see that brought to Warzone instead of these weird kind of nebulous bars. Anyway, that's it for me, but I want to know what you think about the Cold War integration. Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to talk. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.